today's video, we're going to talk about the first cartoon appearance of everybody's, probably fifth favorite animated puppy. I'm talking about Scrappy-Doo. So, alright, let's go.
Yeah. So, we start off in the spacious office of Jerry Sloan, comic book legend and artist. He's best known for his character, the Blue Scarab, and, crazily enough, the Blue Scarab appears in his office, which you would think might be a pretty nice kind of get-together with creator and superhero, but nay! Turns out the Blue Scarab is totally pissed. He doesn't want Sloan to make any more comics of him, so he better stop, or else. So what is Sloan supposed to do, except, maybe get some help from some wild and wacky teenagers? The teenagers of Mystery Inc. Which is funny, because they usually deal with monsters. This is clearly a human being in a superhero costume, so not quite their, modus operandi, but, let's go with it and see where it goes. So you have Scooby-Doo, Shaggy, and Scrappy-Doo, who are all really big fans of the Blue Scarab. But you also have Daphne, Fred, and Velma, who don't read comic books, and they think this whole thing is just one big silly publicity stunt. Which, realistically, that's a pretty awesome publicity stunt, if it was one. So to prove or disprove it, they search for clues. And there's a pretty giant glaring clue called the Mark of the Scarab, which is in Sloan's office. A giant three-dimensional painting of a scarab, which looks like it would have taken quite some time, to paint. So if the Blue Scarab was just hanging out painting this painting, I don't know, you probably could have called the cops and had this guy arrested right there and then. Breaking and entering, uttering threats, vandalism. But not so much of a laughing matter, because in the comics, the Mark of the Scarab means that he will return in full force. Also, another clue, next month's issue of the Blue Scarab, where we see the Blue Scarab turning to crime. Later, Mystery Inc. meets up with potential suspect number 1 with Scarab's publisher, Mr. Hardy. But, Mr. Hardy is pretty distraught that there will not be any more Blue Scarab comics because he will lose millions without them. Millions on one comic book title? Ha! I love comics, but that's a bit of a stretch. This Blue Scarab must be fantastic. We also meet potential suspect number 2, Floyd Hodgkiss. He is a rival artist to Sloan, and he's totally happy that Sloan will be out of a job. Which is a really stupid kind of point of view. Sloan could just create a new character and start working on that one. I'm pretty sure creative people have the capacity to create another character. Meanwhile, back at Sloan's office, so while Shaggy and the Doos are hanging out with Sloan, the Blue Scarab returns! Scrappy-Doo is really pissed off that this Blue Scarab is being a total jerk, so he chases after him. But instead he catches potential suspect number 3, Sloan's assistant, Howard Gruber. The guy who is the exact same build and size as the Blue Scarab and has the same voice, and was captured in the direction that the Scarab went and no one's seen the Scarab run out. Could this be the guy? Could it? We will wait and see. But Howard Gruber is totally pissed off, so he quits. Again. This whole comic book title is falling apart. Also, during the quick altercation, the Blue Scarab stated to Sloan that he will turn to crime. Which is funny because that happens in the previous clue of next month's comic issue, where the Blue Scarab is brainwashed and goes on a crime spree, starting off at a jewelry store and a bank, which the Blue Scarab has done in real life. So this completely gets Mystery Inc.'s attention, and they go to the site of the third crime from the comic book, the City Museum, where Mystery Inc. basically breaks and enters into this place. There was no doorman at the door or anything, but why would following the law stand in their way when they're trying to find justice, I guess, eh? Oh man, these teenagers, hey, I tell ya. But indeed, the Blue Scarab is there to steal the ruby crown. Despite Mystery Inc. being there to try to stop him, they basically do nothing, and the Blue Scarab gets away with the prize. Thusly, Velma realizes just completely out of the blue that, the Blue Scarab, if he wants to destroy the comic book, he will probably go to the printing press where the comic is printed and destroy that contraption. Which, that's actually pretty sound logic. So the team goes off to the publisher, where the Blue Scarab tries to murder Scrappy and the two dogs in a paper cutter conveyor belt kind of a thing. Nonetheless, the tables have turned and the three capture the Blue Scarab in a roll of paper, where they find that he is indeed Sloan's assistant, Howard Gruber, who actually, could have gotten away with it if it wasn't for these kids. He was doing pretty good. But why did he do this? What was the point of all of it? Well, he wanted to create his own comic book. He's sick of working on the Blue Scarab, even though it's clearly the most popular comic book in the world. But, you could just quit your job, which you actually did earlier in the episode, and just start your own comic book, man. That's some kind of stupid motivation there, Gruber. But let's not get logic get in the way of a cartoon. So the day is saved! Hooray! Sloan's in jail, the Blue Scarab is continuing, and everyone is happy. And so with that is the end of this Scooby-Doo tale!
Hey, that was an episode. I realized that not every Scooby-Doo mystery can be on the same level as a Sherlock Holmes novel, but holy jeez, hey, this one was actually kind of weak. I'm pretty sure when we first seen Sloan's assistant, we all kind of figured that guy is the Blue Scarab, the only suspect who had the exact same physique as the criminal. But oddly enough, the suspect with the worst reason to commit a crime spree. He wanted to make his own comic book. Pretty sure you don't need to start doing crime in order to do that. Heck, throughout comic book history, there has been an incredible amount of writers and artists who have worked for multiple comic book companies. Doesn't actually seem that hard to kind of go somewhere else and make your own book. But in this Scooby-Doo world, it is. But we're not here to talk about the Blue Scarab. We're here to talk about Scrappy-Doo, Puppy Power. So this is a character you either absolutely love or absolutely hate. And it's kind of depending on when you started watching Scooby-Doo. If you watched before Scrappy-Doo, you're probably not gonna like the guy. But if you started watching it with Scrappy-Doo, well then you're probably gonna love him. Kind of like Jar Jar Binks, I guess. All the kids went crazy for that guy, but we had no idea why. So for Scrappy-Doo, I'm kind of more used to him kind of in his later appearances, with his rough and grumble kind of a voice. But for this debut episode of him, they kind of had him talking like a toddler, which was kind of really off-putting. He can't pronounce the letter R, so he pronounces it as a W instead. Like, my name is Scrappy-Doo. That was kind of a bit much, and he was actually super clingy to Scooby. But he is just a kid, so, I guess, that kind of makes sense. So I'm totally glad that they actually refined the character to be a lot more digestible, But I guess, he is an interesting character, and he does follow a long line of Scooby-Doo dog characters. So with that, let's take a behind-the-scenes kind of thing, kind of a look at, Scrappy-Doo and all that kind of stuff, and how he came to be, and all that stuff going on there over here.
So yes, indeed, hey, Scrappy-Doo. So how did this character come to be? Well, in a word, desperation. So in the late 1970s, you had the third TV series of a Scooby-Doo themed show called The Scooby-Doo Show. And for a while, this show was actually doing pretty good. Like, it had 3 seasons. So that in of itself is kind of a success. But in the third season, the ratings have plummeted. The show was going to be canceled. And worse, potentially, there may not be a new Scooby-Doo show being picked up in the near future. So creators Joe Ruby and Ken Spears, of Ruby Spears fame, decided they needed to do something to save the show. And, well, they did pitch a new show to fill the time slot of the Scooby-Doo show in case it was cancelled. So either way, they completely covered their bases to have one of their new shows being shown. But, to save Scooby-Doo, it's like, man, what are you gonna do, right? So they decided to do one of those things that do happen in TV shows. You introduce a new full-time character. But what kind of a character? Are you gonna add another human? There's already 4 humans on the show and only 1 dead. So they decided, yeah, we're gonna add a dog character, and this dog's gonna be related to Scooby-Doo. We've already seen some of Scooby-Doo's extended family in the previous shows, specifically with his cousins, Scooby-Dum and Scooby-Dee, so it makes total sense to introduce another Scooby-Doo family member. But seeing as Scooby-Doo is older, kind of like, I guess, a teenager, they figured to make this new character a little different, so let's make him a puppy. So in Mystery Inc., each character has quite the different personality. So what kind of a personality would this new character have to kind of fit in? Well, they went back to the Scooby-Doo drawing board. Or, well, I guess writing board in this instance. One of the original concepts for Scooby-Doo was that he was going to be the brave character that went headfirst into danger and tried to do what he could to get the mystery solved as quick as possible. They eventually decided that Scooby should be more of a coward, like his best friend Shaggy, so that concept of a really brave, go-get-em kind of a dog would be the basis for Scrappy-Doo. And so with all that put together, boom! You have the new puppy character, Scrappy-Doo, and he first appeared in the new show, Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo, on September 22nd of 1979. We did get a pretty small glimpse of Scrappy's origin. In the opening credits, Scrappy was delivered to a train station and Scooby went to go pick him up. That's pretty much it. Nothing as spectacular as being bitten by a radioactive spider or, being the last survivor of an exploding planet. Nope, you're just sent to a train station. Enjoy, kid. However, in the second series of Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo, in an episode called Scrappy's Birthday, we do learn a bit more about the origin of Scrappy-Doo. He was born in St. Bernard's Memorial Hospital, fantastic name, and his mother is Scooby-Doo's sister, Ruby-Doo. Pretty much immediately after Scrappy was born, he started hanging out with his uncle Scooby and Shaggy Rogers. And Scrappy had so much fun with these guys, so he asked his mother, oh my god, can I just hang out with Uncle Scooby and Shaggy? That would be so fun! To which Ruby said, well, we'll see. Which we knew would happen, seeing as we seen him being mailed on a train. So Scrappy got his wish and started to hang out with his buddies, solving mysteries. Much like the mystery of the Blue Scarab. Which, as I say, is kind of a two-dimensional story. Some would say that it comes right out of an old comic book. To which, actually, they would be completely correct. This story was adapted from a comic book, specifically from Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Number 24 in 1974. In a story called The Mark of the Blue Scarab, which was published by Gold Key Comics. For the most part, the story is pretty much, the same. The Blue Scarab being, I guess, a homage to the Blue Beetle and maybe the Phantom. But, not wanting to have his comic made anymore, one of the main differences was the culprit, which was Harry, one of the rival writers for Sloan, and not Sloan's assistant like we've seen in this featured episode. But either way, that comic book was a one-and-done story of the Blue Scarab, which was retold in this one-and-done story, so it's not like, the stories have to be bang on or anything, right? We'll never see the Blue Scarab again. Even though the featured episode version of the story is a bit more watered down than the comic book, which was a better telling of the story. But thanks to Scrappy-Doo, one thing we will see a lot more of is Scooby-Doo family members. Seeing as Scooby's nephew is so well known now and shown so much, they figured they should show a lot more of the family. His parents, his brothers, his grandparents, his other cousins. Man, there are a lot of famous talking dogs in this Scooby-Doo universe, and I'm sure we'll see more. Not a whole lot more of Scrappy-Doo, but we do see him from time to time, so that's kind of neat. But for those other times, we will get to those when we get to those. So, with this, that, those, and the other things, I guess and that's that. Also, if you're interested, I created my own comic book channel, 215 Comics. And currently, I have created my own cartoon series, The Adventures of the Density. And recently started a radio series featuring my newest character, Elastomorph, with more titles to come. So if you want to check it out, I'll leave a link up top here to that channel and some links at the end of the video. Yeah! Right on, and there you go. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it as much as I did making it. Also, feel free to check out the source material that I featured in this video. And if you want to leave a comment on anything you may have liked or things I might have missed in this, feel free to do so. Or anything else, just to say hi. That's cool too. And other than that, have a great day. Thanks.